Now we have our next speaker, Ms. Raihana Hissain from NLB, who will be sharing with us about what the National Library Board is doing to encourage reading. After which, we will take a tea break, okay? Let us welcome, please, Raihana.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here today, and in fact, the presentations by Chini and by Charles really resonated with me as well, and I think you will see some similar themes about the things that we are talking about when we talk about reading across things that you have seen, what NIE is doing, what MOE is doing, and what NLB is doing. So again, similar to Charles, I was approached to talk about NLB's role in reading, and I think that I would have to take a lot of time, maybe probably until tomorrow, to be able to really do justice to what we do in NLB. So for the purpose of today's discussion and roundtable, I have decided to approach it from the perspective of myself from when I entered NLB. I was hoping that with that perspective, you can see how the role of NLB in reading has changed throughout the years as well. So I joined NLB in 2009 as a children's librarian, and in fact, I was sent here to Bishan Library, and I was managing the children's floor, which is at the basement, which you can go to and see later. And in 2009, a lot of my job focused on the things that I'm going to show you now. So at the very basic thing that I have to do is to know my collection. Just like how a salesperson know what they sell, I also needed to know the products that we have. And I just wanted to share this story with you. A few months after I've joined, and I read a lot, I shared with my colleagues a lot to be able to know the kinds of trends, the published books in children's literature and so on. An elderly gentleman approached me on the floor and said, I'm here with my grandchild, and I read this book when I was young, and now I was wondering whether the book is here today for me to share with my grandson. So I said, what's the book? So he said, I think it might be familiar to you as well. It's Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. So I brought him straight to the shelf, took out the book, and see, here's the book. And I was very impressed that I didn't need to go to any catalog to look up where the book was. So I was very happy, like very proud. It was a proud moment as a librarian to know that, hey, I know my collection. And the other thing that I did a lot of was storytelling. And here in NLB, storytelling for us is very important because I feel personally that storytelling gives children an opportunity to have that experience where stories are celebrated and shared together, and it's a social activity as well. So a lot of times when I prepare books for storytelling, I also have to prepare myself for the event that at the end of the storytelling session, children will come up to me and say, can I have that book that you have just read to us? Because after the storytelling session, they do want to borrow the books and bring it home and continue reading that. So storytelling has, in fact, a very strong relationship to reading. And I also had to look out for a lot and curate and create a lot of programs for the libraries as well in order to entice children to come and read at the libraries. So one of the programs that I curated when in my early days as a librarian was this something focusing on targeted at 4 to 6 year old, and the topic was census, your 5 senses. So together with students from secondary schools who were volunteers at NLB, we had booths for kids to go around and experience the different do different activities in order to experience the 5 senses. And at each booth there were instructions that they had to read and books that they had to refer to in order to complete. So what I wanted to say is that even programming, there are reading elements that you can put inside programming as well. And a lot of times, I also spend on advisory services where people can just approach us and ask us any question under the sun. So we will receive questions from children such as, why is the sky blue? And our job as librarians is to curate the kind of resources that would help children explore and answer some of these questions as well. So with that and a host of many other things, that was my job as a librarian. And even then, I already thought we were doing quite a lot to sort of promote reading, especially for children in the libraries. But sometime in 2012, with NLB's vision of Libraries 2020, we re-looked at how we are engaging children. The advantage for us at that point was that we were already very strong and very strong in terms of reading programs in schools, and we were recognized for that. And the other advantage that we had was that we had good connections with some schools as well, because we do go down to schools to bring books down and to conduct reading programs in schools. So when in 2012 we wanted to further leverage on that, and that's when Read at School was formed. And Read at School, we worked together with MOE to approach, to sort of promote reading programs as a whole school reading approach, and to be able to go into more schools. In fact, our target at that time was to enter, to go to 330 schools out of the 370 plus schools that we had in Singapore. And the strategy for us, and this is not unfamiliar to you because I think Chin Yi also spoke about role modeling for teachers. The strategy for us then was these two things. We wanted to focus on every child as a reader, and also every teacher as a reading role model. Okay, so for programs that we already had, we wanted to strengthen the existing programs, as well as introduce new programs under this Read at School brand. And what we did was we thought about mass programs with high touch. We also wanted to think about programs that are smaller groups in order to cater to the different needs of the students. And from there, we thought about, okay, we have avid readers, we have reluctant readers, we should have programs that cater to these groups as well. So this is a sample of a mass program. That's my colleague Mindy. So this is a recent photo of when she did a talk on SEA Games. So here she introduced the athletes of the Singapore athletes, and then she also promoted some books related to sports as well. And this is a sample of what we mean by high touch, like we reach several levels at one time, usually done during assembly periods. This is a photo of my colleague Marcus, and this is when we bring books down to schools. Chin Yi mentioned we bring about 3,000 to 5,000 books every time for kids to borrow. And one thing I like about this mass program, that even though it's high touch and we see every student in the school probably, but this mass borrowing program also allows us to have that one-to-one engagement, because kids do approach us to say, hey, you promoted this book during assembly, do you have any other recommendations for us? And personally, I find that teenagers, the secondary school students, they tend to do this much more. They would rather like come up to us and ask us about the book recommendations rather than the primary school students, who are very happy with the range of books that they see there. As an effort to go digital as well, we have our Discoveries website. In Discoveries, we host different content. You can see the tabs there for children, teens, content for parents and teachers as well. And in Discoveries, we also have recommendations for ebooks and these ebooks are arranged according to levels: primary 1, primary 2, primary 3, up to Sec 4 and Sec 5. And we are working on further promoting Discoveries in order to have a bigger reach in the future. I also spoke about the classroom programs that we had under the Read at School brand. So this is an example of my colleague conducting a similar program. And the programs for the avid readers differ from the programs for the reluctant readers, in a sense where programs for avid readers will probably have like an excerpt from a book that's selected from Librarian. We will talk about the themes, we'll discuss questions that we should think about when we are looking at that content. But programs for the reluctant readers focus a lot more on the hands-on activities after we have shared the titles of the books with them. And other things that we also do include hosting lit quizzes, and this is to cater to those who like to read extensively. And this quiz, the one that you see is it was started by Wayne Mills, he's a New Zealander, and he goes from country to country to host the finals of the Kids Lit Quiz. And the winners of the national finals will go on to the world finals. And we also had these packages I also wanted to highlight, because we put in effort to gamify some of the packages that we have in terms of reading, because we wanted to excite those who were not already reading. The Dare to Read booklets, they are actually mission booklets, and you see the characters on the cover. It's based, the characters are based, they are situated in a storyline. So there's a storyline written by the librarians, and inside the Dare to Read booklets, there are missions for students to complete, and after they have completed the missions, they can redeem for tokens such as thumb drives, lanyards, bags, and so on and so forth. And the book bucks is something that just came in like last year or last 2 years, where we tried to promote reading through collectible cards. This was very popular. In fact, when we just presented the closeout report for this, it actually it contributed to more than 4 million loans for NLB. I also wanted to share, beyond what students did for what we are doing for students, the things that we are working with MOE with for teachers. We have programs, we have workshops for teachers in schools. We train them in storytelling, we train them in terms of info literacy as well. And this is a picture of us training the learning support coordinators. I think Leonard mentioned learning support program just now. Last year we went into the some of the learning support sessions to see how we can encourage students who were in the learning support program to go beyond just learning how to read, but also how to love reading. So we came in with reading packages from NLB, and after that whole pilot ended, we went on to train learning support coordinators. And this is a sample of, and this is a photo from an event from this March. This is what we are trying to do is we are trying to support schools in terms of reading. So for this event, a lot of schools sent in their write-ups on what they are doing for reading in their schools. And we brought these schools together, and in the end, what came out of it was this book, and something that it is actually there if you want to take a look at it later. And this is a compilation of all the reading programs, the reading initiatives from different schools, and this is an effort to document it so that more schools can replicate such reading programs as well. So moving forward, in 2017, what I'm looking at right now is to create more bite-sized packages. In fact, this is coming from feedback from teachers that we are working with, and currently we have packages, for example, 10-minute video packages that can be played during silent reading, for example. And these packages include like genres and very easy introduction to books and themes that students can watch, and then teachers and students can have a discussion later on these themes. We are also leveraging a lot more on technology. In our book talks, usually we feature videos such as book trailers, but now we are using technology in other ways. For example, in the newly opened Tampines Regional Library, we are trying to engage teens. Remember just now we said that those who are not readers come to the libraries, but they are reading but not engaging. They are studying but they are not reading. So we are trying to engage the teens there by the digital walls that have been put up in the teen section of the Tampines Library. So what happens there is we have themes every month where students can post photos via Instagram, or they can post their thoughts via Twitter, and those will go up immediately onto the social media screen as a form of digital engagement from us to them and between them as well. And if you look at Bukit Panjang Library, we just reopened that as well. We have an immersive storytelling room where if you go inside the room, the walls are actually videos, kind of video screens, so that if, for example, the librarian is telling a story on with a jungle theme, so you will see the jungle on the screens, and then the animals will come out according to the scheduled timings and their sound and whatnot. So we are leveraging a lot more on technology moving forward. We are also looking at data. Data analytics is very big nowadays, but we are also trying to look at data to govern the kind of decisions that we make even day to day. So in some of my libraries, the librarians use data, collection data, using loan data to even decide what kind of book displays actually go up in the libraries. I borrowed this term equity from Chin Yi's third roundtable topic, but really we are really looking into leveling that playing field, because our Kids Read program started in 2004, and Kids Read is targeted at low income children between 4 to 8 years old, and it's run by volunteers of NLB. But then we are looking at other ways on how we can reach these low-income children as well. So one of the things that my colleagues recently tried was they created these boxes and they curated books to go inside these boxes. And these boxes are mailed and sent to children in low-income families so that they will have more books in their homes. So that's something that we are piloting. And of course, collaborations, we are looking at collaborating even more with schools, with organizations. In 2009, when I joined, schools would come to the libraries and they would send their performing arts groups for our events. But nowadays, we are collaborating in a different way. Just last month, Springfield SEC came to the Tampines Library to conduct their teachers and students conducted a 2-hour session using iPads, teaching the children, the public, to create their own comics. So those are the kind of collaborations that we are working towards and something that we want to work more on. Yes, so I'm just going to end my presentation soon. The message that I want to send is first to let us think of reading just beyond, to think beyond reading to reading and learning, because essentially nowadays the children are really reading at various platforms online or otherwise. Okay, for us to keep moving forward, which means that not only our programs, not only our content that needs to continually to evolve, our own skill sets need to evolve as well. And to reach out, because we cannot do this alone, to continue to work with each other so that we can, it takes a village to raise a child. Essentially, this is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And NLB is always here to support that learning journey. Thank you.